Welcome to It's All About You, a program that keeps you connected to all of the exciting events, services, and businesses the city of Urbana has to offer.
We're your hosts, Sterling Bowman and Natalie Marquez.
Later in the show, we'll learn about a new initiative for the city, spearheaded by our Environmental Sustainability Manager, Scott Tess.
What's happening at the Landscape Recycling Center? We'll find out in just a little bit.
There's lots of vehicles on the road with the city logo on them. We'll meet the man behind the motor when we talk with Fleet Manager Tony Arnold.
The Urbana Police Department is encouraging residents to lock their car doors to prevent crime. We'll chat with Deputy Chief of Police Bryant Seraphin to see what else community members can do.
But first, we're at Wiley Elementary School in Urbana and joined by Cynthia Hoyle. Thanks for being on the program, Cynthia.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I can't believe we haven't had you on before. You play such an important role in Urbana in terms of making your way around, not in a vehicle, on two wheels, and there's lots of exciting things coming up. But before we chat about that, why don't you share with our viewers a little bit about you and your role in the community?
Well, I am a transportation planner, and I contract with the CUMTD and work on walkability, bikeability, and transit supportive development for them in the community. And that has included from the beginning participating in what used to be International Walk and Roll to School Day, and now we call it Walk and Roll to School Day. And the elementary schools in Urbana participate. I was interested in this because if we fix the community so that kids can walk to school, then it works for everybody. And transit riders are part of the people who are out there walking and need that accessibility.
Right, and especially it being a safe environment to participate in those activities, and I know that you've been very involved in trying to make our community a safer, more bikeable and accessible community.
Yeah, we have a project called CU Safe Routes to School Project, and we've been operating that now for about 10 years. We've had several grants that have funded our work, and we have included both walking and biking with kids. We try to do a lot of education and outreach to give parents and kids the information that they need to be safe. And part of our activities on Walk and Roll to School Day are collecting data. We ask the teachers to do classroom tallies so we see how many kids are walking and biking. And all of that is important information for applying for grants to get additional help. For example, all of our school zones in town, that was a grant that we got through Safe Routes to School.
Fantastic.
Now, you mentioned the Walk and Roll to School program. And you said all schools in Urbana participate
Elementary
in that.
schools.
Elementary schools in Urbana participate in that. So can you give us a little bit of information on that? Like, how long has that been a thing, and what exactly are your plans for it this year?
Well, I first did that when we lived in another city and state back in 2000, so it's been around for some time now, nearly 20 years. And when I moved here and started working with the transit district, as I suggested, this is one of the programs we could undertake. And Urbana has always been very interested. The school district and the city have been very interested in the programming, and we've done a lot of work with the middle schoolers too. The grant funding covers K through 8. So the other grant that the city got as part of the work that we have done was to install all the bike infrastructure in the community within a mile and a half of the middle school, which is a large part of Urbana. And so that helped us really expand our network for bicycling.
Okay. How did you become involved in this? Like, was this something that you really just kind of took up on yourself? Was this always something that you were interested in, kind of thing?
Well, I've always liked bicycling, and I was able to walk and bike to school when I was a kid, like a lot of people my age. And one day I was taking a friend home, and there was a little boy biking down the sidewalk, and she said he's on his way to school, and it was like an arrow through my heart. I thought, my kids can't walk or bike to school by themselves. There's no safe route for them. And that's when I started work in that community to try and improve walking and biking safety and options for kids.
Very nice.
So how does one participate in the Walk and Roll to School? Is there a registration, or do they just walk and roll?
Well, if parents want to get ideas and tips for how to do that, they can go to our website, cusaferoutestoschoolproject.com, or they can Google Walk and Roll to School Day, and there's a national website. There are all kinds of resources and fun things that you can do. We provide some materials to all of the schools, and the school district is reproducing walkability checklists. And so if the parents will help the kids fill that out with any issues that they see, that's information that the city uses to help improve safety and walkability.
Fantastic. And remind us again what day of the month this month is Walk and Roll to
It's
School.
October 4th.
Right.
And so people should be watching. Most of the schools have the buses come and drop the kids off, so there'll be big groups of kids in places that you normally don't see that morning, probably starting about 7:45.
All right. And so beyond this, looking forward, I know that you probably have lots of other great programs and activities planned in the community. So we'd love to keep in touch and get you back on and learn more about some of the activities and events you have going on.
Absolutely. We would love to do that.
Thank you. Well,
Thanks.
Thank you so much for all that you do for Urbana, and we look forward to seeing all the walkers and bikers out on October 4th. We're back with It's All About You, and today we're joined by Deputy Chief Bryant Seraphin. Thank you for being on the program.
Good morning, and you're welcome.
Thank you. So we haven't had you on the program yet, so we're happy that you're on the show today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to working for the Urbana Police Department.
Well, I actually came to town way back in August of 1990 as a University of Illinois freshman, and from the Chicagoland area originally, and I took the test as a senior. And I didn't necessarily think that I would be hired, but Urbana was the first one that called, and I said yes, I'll stay for a couple of years, I guess, and we'll try it out down here. And it'll be 23 years next month that I've been here. I think it's interesting. I like to tell people I actually came here as a biology pre-med major, and now this is what I do. So you never know how life is going to go or where it's going to take you.
Definitely. And now you haven't just joined the police department, but you've worked your way up the ranks to deputy chief. I know there's been a lot of transition and a lot of movement within the department, but what are some things that you're focusing on, some priorities in this new role?
My priority right now is simply trying to make sure that we have enough staffing and the right people in the right places. As I spent a lot of my time, I was very fortunate, got to spend a lot of my time in the investigations division, and very much enjoyed that. However, in this new role, it's more about personnel issues and promotions and assignments, and then hiring new officers. The city council was very kind and gave us a couple of bodies, extra slots, and trying to make sure that we get those filled. There's a natural sort of attrition that sometimes occurs in this position. People get different opportunities, decide they want to move their families, guys retire, and I guess that's one thing people ask me. What's one of the biggest challenge? And I said, I underestimated just how much personnel matters have taken up time. So my biggest priority is to make sure that we have enough people that when someone dials 911, we have the appropriate resources to respond.
Fantastic.
Now, something else that's going on right now is wanting to make sure to instruct people on locking cars and locking valuables. Can you kind of give a little bit more information on that?
Sure, absolutely. When we take burglary to motor vehicle reports, so many of those are reports that we don't necessarily have to take had someone just locked their car. Many times the ne'er-do-wells who commit these crimes will just walk down the street in 2 in the morning trying door handles, and they'll try this car and then that car and this car and that car, and eventually find one open and then rummage through it. Typically most people will find things missing are their sunglasses from Walmart and some pocket change, and sometimes people will leave then their iPads,
right,
or their laptops or purses in the front seat with the car unlocked. And when we have that, then it's a big problem obviously for the victim, as we try to we don't necessarily make tons of arrests in these kinds of cases.
Right.
There's not a lot of evidence. There aren't any witnesses, and so our recommendation is something that the Champaign police have a little flyer and says something to the effect of lock it or lose it. And that's very, very helpful. We will occasionally get witnesses, people that are maybe out, can't sleep, or having a cigarette at midnight, and they'll see people walking down the street trying the door handles. If it's locked, they keep on moving. So our recommendation is always to have people lock their cars. And if you're going to leave it unlocked, please don't leave anything of value in it.
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing where we want people to, if you have something of value in the car, malls at Christmas time and those kinds of things, at least people try to tuck it down and the floorboards in the back, or throw blankets over it, or do something to sort of not make it such an inviting target. But if people on the front passenger seat have an iPad and a purse and the car's unlocked, it's more likely than not you're going to lose those items.
Now, do you notice, like, when you kind of bring attention to these things, like, do those crimes really go down because people listen to you? Does it seem like maybe it takes a few times to really get people to listen, or does this seem like a pretty successful?
My honest answer is I don't think people listen.
Okay.
So I hope people listen. We've been preaching this for years. We'll be maybe hitting a certain area, and we have little flyers that we'll tuck in people's front doors, and it's English on one side and Spanish on the other side, trying to encourage this behavior. You don't necessarily know how many of these you sort of prevent.
Okay.
I don't have necessarily any kind of
Right.
barometer for that, but we will tell you that they sort of go up and down. We're less likely to have these on a February night when it's 7 below, or if there's a giant thunderstorm rolling through. We won't have these. Perhaps in the summer, and we have more juveniles out and about at late hours, we might have more of an issue with this. And sometimes we will, and I was involved in some over the years where we were able to solve a case and get a search warrant, and then execute the search warrant and find all sorts of property. I remember doing one where here was a giant bucket of change. It was probably all the handfuls of change from cars, and a big pile of generic sunglasses and all kinds of stuff. Those are pretty rare.
Yeah.
It is hard for us to solve these with an arrest. So our recommendation is don't let it happen in the first place.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, we talked a little bit about securing your vehicle. Any other important notes or PSAs you want to send out about things that are happening now, or a quick reminder?
Well, in addition to, I guess, staying with the theme of the burglaries, depending on where you park your car, if you can put it in a locked garage, that's better. If you park it outside, that's fine, but we recommend maybe not parking it down at the end of a dark alley where the brush is all overgrown and nobody can see anything that's going on. So just a couple of those things, and essentially it's a point that I make whenever we talk to people about public safety issues, one of being aware of your surroundings, and being just cognizant of what's happening around you, whether that's where you park your car or whether or not you want to walk down a dark alley by yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning with a shadowy figure at the far end. Most people say, well, that seems unsafe.
Yeah.
But people sometimes will not listen to that little spidey sense they might have, and they'll walk down that alley anyway, and then we have a crime victim. So we usually tell people, be aware of your surroundings. I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to be aware and then make smart choices, whether you're parking your car or walking down the street.
And trust your spidey sense.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the program. Keep us posted about things happening with the Urbana Police Department. We'd love to meet more of your staff and learn more about the great things and the service that you provide to our community. So thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
We're back with It's All About You. We're here with Tony Arnold from Public Works. And now you also haven't been on the show at all. Would you like to kind of give a little bit of background information on who you are and how you came to the city?
Well, I'm Tony Arnold, and I came to the city about 22 years ago.
Okay.
I was very fortunate when they hired me. I was leaving Super Value at the time. This place that it felt like home. It's really great, you know. I had went to Bailey Trade School in St. Louis. I had been a volunteer fire chief in my little community west of Champaign, and they were looking for a fire mechanic to replace the gentleman that was leaving. So I fell right in. So about 20 years I've been a mechanic here at the city.
Okay.
Working on fire trucks, sweepers, vectors, big dump trucks, snow equipment. Basically, a year and a half ago, I was being retired, and I thought it was time to go, but I was very fortunate. I was able to be promoted into Fleet Manager.
Okay.
So with that, new changes has come around for me.
Right.
Things isn't just like they were before. You know, we have 3 mechanics in the fleet. We service 150 pieces of equipment. We're pretty much, we're the support group of the whole city. Fire, police, administration, public works, and LRC, landscape recycling. Basically, that's our whole bag right there. We take care of all the equipment.
Okay. Well, very nice. And then now you're also involved with another program, correct? Like an auctioning site, right?
Right. With all the equipment we have in the city, it's replaced in time increments, and we have 3 ways of dealing with this. We can trade the vehicle in when we buy a vehicle, which sometimes doesn't make sense. We can take a used vehicle and put it in a motor pool because there could be still life. Or we could take a used vehicle and put it on our public surplus eBay site. It's a eBay site that it costs the city no money. We take our used equipment, we sell as is, and the only thing with the site is if you're a buyer, there's a 10% upcharge. But the city pays nothing for that.
Okay.
We've done quite well. We went from, when I started, Champaign Urbana was taking the equipment to a one-time auction every year in the fall. We took that and we took it to eBay. Well, we were paying people to put this on eBay. Well, we were paying good fees to put our equipment on eBay, which really didn't make sense. So what we did, we were able to, about a year and a half ago, come up with this public surplus. And it's really nice. When we have a piece of equipment ready to go on, we take a picture, we get the information, we put it on. It's all cost-free. The citizens of Urbana really reaps the reward because we're receiving savings on the way back.
And in addition to the items that you put on that website, as we were chatting before the interview, you mentioned that there's also another place that you take the police vehicles, a separate way of bringing them to their next life.
You're right. Natalie, what we did a year and a half ago, actually, excuse me, it was 2 years ago, we had used police vehicles. We actually replaced 15 cars with our new SUVs. And with that, we used Ilias. They put them on the website. Being it was a police car, we could only sell it to law enforcement agencies. And it was really, really good because we're able to help the agencies farther down the state that didn't have the resources to buy new vehicles. So they're able to buy our old Crown Vics at a very good price, and it really helped the city.
And you mentioned quite a significant dollar amount that came out of one of the most recent sales of some of those items.
Yeah, we did make quite a bit. We were actually selling these cars for about $7,500 a piece. Basically, we were taking our names off the cars, leaving the used equipment on the cars, and it saved us time, and it saved the people buying the cars time putting the equipment back on. It was really a good savings all the way around.
Awesome. So, you know, as we look around here in this shop, you've got a lot of fun toys to play with, but that are very necessary to keep up all of the equipment that are needed to make the city run on a day-to-day basis. Of all the things in here, what's your favorite item? That's a trick question.
You
I'm
know,
throwing this at you with no
Natalie,
warning.
I tell you what, you know, my favorite item is our new Ford computer programming. We were able to purchase the software and the instruments, the computer. We're able to actually go in and work on our new vehicles, where a lot of times people have to take them back to the dealership. We're able to look at, see what's going on, see if it's warranty, see if it's not warranty, see if we can take care of it ourselves. We have very good mechanics here. I have to tell you that the mechanics we have a new gentleman been here about 2 years. Fantastic. He came from East St. Louis. We have a gentleman that actually replaced me in my job. He was from the other side of town, and they are great guys. Self-motivators. They come out, they do their job every day. As far as that special equipment, I would say that computer software is great.
And I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in the shop over your 20 years here.
You know, the shop actually has stayed the same in 20 years.
All right.
But what we've done, we've had to make small improvements to keep up with our equipment. Our equipment in the city has outgrown our place.
Okay.
Fire trucks and dump trucks, they're no longer the same size as they were back in 1960 and 70. We have a problem at times that we have to take it out back, work on it, because it's too large.
I was going to say, maybe some things don't fit in here.
Well, sometimes, yeah, we have trouble, but we will get them in.
Yeah.
You know, our challenging part for the city, and people realize it in the wintertime, is the weather.
Yeah.
You know, the 4 seasons that we deal with, wintertime, Public Works is number 1. Snowplow, salting. We as a group here in the garage have to keep the trucks going. Plus, we keep police and fire going too.
Right.
And then we shift into the springtime, and that's construction season. We have construction season, Public Works, and everything at LRC is just booming. So we have to keep them moving. My guys are always going.
Yep.
So that's good.
Well, we appreciate all that you do for the city. Thank you for helping to keep us running, literally keep us running on a day-to-day basis, and for your 20 plus years of service. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And we're back with It's All About You, and I'm joined today by Scott Tess and Bruce Cubberley. Thank you for joining us on the south lawn of the city building. I know there's been a lot happening. Scott, we'll talk to you first about lawns, lawn care, and maybe better practices that we could all adopt. Tell us a little bit about some of the activities that you took part in last month and what's going on as we move forward.
Yeah, last Saturday we kicked off our Midwest Grows Green campaign with the Midwest Pesticide Action Center. They're doing education and sharing best practices for a natural lawn care approach. So we're working to engage both city staff and the public to reduce the use of synthetic fertilizers.
So what can our residents do? I know the Park District and the city are participating, but as residents, what are some steps that they can take or ways that they can get involved, especially as we move into these fall months?
Sure. Well, our event had a number of games for folks to play, and essentially they're learning 4 elements of the natural lawn care approach. The first is to mow high, no less than 3 inches, helps cultivate a strong turf. Second is water properly. Third is to fertilize organically, and then fourth is to core aerate your lawn twice a year.
And when you say fertilize organically, what does that mean?
Yeah, the best thing to do is to buy compost fertilizer from the Landscape Recycling Center.
Well, that's a great lead-in, Scott, to talking to you, Bruce.
Sure.
The Landscape Recycling Center is a great place for residents and the community to go to not only drop stuff off,
Right.
but pick stuff up, and compost is one of those things, right?
Right, and compost, if you get it after it's screened, can be spread on lawn 2 times a year, 1/4 inch deep,
and that'll actually improve the root zone for the turf. You'll have stronger grass, and that's part of the whole idea behind the natural process.
And as we move into the fall months, what are some other things that the Landscape Recycling Center can help our residents out with in terms of their lawn and their landscaping?
Well, I mean, we take stuff in. People will be doing some work in their yard. Maybe they're doing a renovation, re-landscaping parts of it, and they have to get rid of some of the old material. We take that. We also supply compost that can be used for building up your soil, not just for spreading on top of the turf, but it's great to add to the soil to build up the organic matter content, which improves your fertility, improves water holding capacity, and generally helps the majority of plants that we use in our landscapes.
Well, you guys are a great wealth of information, and I feel like maybe our viewers, I know that our viewers will have some follow-up questions for both of you. Bruce, why don't you let us know where folks can go to learn more about some of these things you've talked about and more about the Landscape Recycling Center?
Well, the Landscape Recycling Center has its own website, and that's always got material on it. It has a Facebook page, which is maintained and has seasonal activities and things that you can do with material from the Landscape Recycling Center.
Fantastic. And Scott, where can folks go to participate in this healthier lawn care type of maintenance?
Sure. Folks can do a web search for Midwest Grows Green. They'll find all the information, including the pledge that we're asking folks to take, pledge to reduce synthetic pesticides and fertilizer use.
Is there a timeline or a schedule of when they can take this pledge, or what if they hibernate this winter and want to start it up fresh in the spring? Is that possible?
Sure. The pledge is going to live on the internet forever.
Okay.
But we're going to have another event highlighting and educating on the natural lawn care approach. It'll be at a Park District property. They're our partner in this.
Yes.
So we'll have that in the spring as well. So people have another chance to come out and interact with the Midwest Pesticide Action Center staff and learn more.
Awesome. Let's connect back again in the spring so we can see how the fall and winter months went and see if we can gather up some more residents for the springtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Sounds good.
Thank you both for being on the program
You're
and
welcome.
being some of the great guests on our It's All About You television show. For more information on the City of Urbana, you can visit their website at urbanaillinois.us. We appreciate you tuning in today and hope you'll join us again soon. And remember, it's all about you.